Hello guys and welcome to my channel. Today we will dive a little bit deeper regarding some nice tips and let's say hacks to do for your ZEB. Though there are a lot of people in the web complaining that their ZEB is a little bit harsh. According to my understanding and my experience, it's not that the ZEB is harsh, but more likely it's the fact that Rockshox has probably poor quality control, maybe. And I strongly believe that there are a lot of ZEBs out there that are not assembled correctly. They are not assembled correctly. I had a lot of issues with my ZEB. Just to tell you a few details, I have an e-bike. Actually, it's this bike. It's a Focus 2 6.8. It has a Rockshox ZEB, 170mm of travel, front and rear. It has a Rockshox ZEB in the front, and this fork, when I bought the bike, it was very stiff for me. It had zero small bu.p compliance. I wasn't feeling comfortable with it, and I found myself riding the bike with about 54 psi. Yep, 54 psi. I was forced to go into such a low pressure in my ZEB because it was very harsh on the initial stroke, and I couldn't use more than 50% of fork's travel. This is because the fork was very stiff when it came with the bike, and after some modifications I have done myself, and honestly I haven't found this information anywhere in the web. I haven't found these informations. Today I am riding the fork with 82 psi. Before this fork I had a Focus 36 on another bike, on a high bike, all mountain 6, and a Focus 36 and a Rockshox Yari, all of them 170 travel. I could use full travel on these forks with about 88 psi on both of them. They were very nice fork with excellent support and very well small bu.p compliance, but all the time I was finding myself making a compromise between small bu.p compliance and support. I couldn't find the perfect balance. Eventually with ZEB, and after the hacks I have came up with, and I have tried them and I will share them to you, I believe the Rockshox ZEB I have now, all of the forks I forgot to mention were 29 inch wheel. I can comfortably say that the ZEB is by far the best fork I have ever ridden. It's the small bu.p compliance the fork has now is simply amazing. The support is excellent, and I am not using all of the fork's travel. I am using about 160, probably 165 millimeter of travel, so I have a spare of 1 centimeter spare, and the fork amazes me in every aspect. Okay, so Of course, we will not disassemble the fork. There is no need to do it. In my hands, I have some air shafts. All these air shafts are from Yari fork. The ZEB is a little bit similar, but similar in logic, but not exactly the same. There are few differences that is making the fork stand out, according to my understanding. In the case of ZEB, you don't have this. I am always forgetting how it's called, the head. Okay, I'm missing the word now. Okay, let's move on. You will not find this piece of spare in the ZEB, this red, but you will find this one, a spacer, and the seal head. Yes, okay. Now this is how it's called, the seal head. Okay, so this is how you are assembling it in the case of ZEB, and you put it inside the extension. In the Rockshox, you have in the Yari this kit is this seal head by itself, and now this is the top of the seal head of the air shaft. So let's understand what's going on here a little bit. Above this, above the head of the seal head is the chamber we are putting air with our pumps in the fork. Okay, and this is the positive chamber. These two seals, these, I hope you can see them, these are rubber seals, okay, are the seals that are justifying the negative air chamber. So when you install this inside your fork, inside your stanchion, when you install this inside your stanchion, this is your negative chamber. Okay, now the question is, how can we increase this negative chamber? What can we do in order to give to ourselves better small pump compliance? First of all, why you have better small pump compliance when you have a bigger negative chamber? Because you are equalizing. This is also the reason the stanchions have a cut inside this at the top of this seal head, okay, in order for air to equalize between these two chambers. This is the reason, because what you want to achieve is, when the fork is fully pumped in normal working pressure, you want the pressure inside this chamber and this chamber to be the same. This way you have zero forces pressing the shaft down and zero forces pressing the shaft up. Actually, you have forces, but these forces are equalized. So the slightly movement, the slightly pressure from the wheel, it's going to turn up into a movement. This way you are gaining a small pump compliance. So, as I told you before, this shaft looks like the Rockshox ZEB shaft. It is from Yari, I'm saying again, but in reality they are not 100% the same. There is a tiny difference that makes an important that plays an important role on how the forks perform. So those of you are lucky enough to have a ZEB, you have at some point to check your forks. You have to remove your air shaft and make sure that this hole in the top of the seal head is aligned with the hole of the shaft. I say again, this is a shaft from a Yari. not a shaft from a ZEB. If it was a shaft from a ZEB, it would be those two spare parts instead of this, okay? And the top of the seal head is a seal head you can unscrew the shaft and take it in your hand, like this one. This is the old, oh, it has oil and I cannot unscrew it now. In the ZEB, the air shaft is, it has threads on the top and it is screwed inside the seal head. But in the air shaft, in the Yari, the seal head is mounted on the air shaft using this pin. I hope you can see it. This pin that goes through the air shaft and to the other side. In Yari, this is the Yari. In the ZEB, the seal head is screwed. You can screw it, okay? Inside, you can screw a shaft inside the seal head, okay? But the shaft has a hole. The seal head has also a hole here. So what this hole is about? Well, eventually I figure out that this hole is because what Rockshox engineers wanted to achieve was to increase the negative air jumper. So they came up with a brilliant idea and a very simple idea to use this hole, and then because the shaft has also a hole and you have to align those holes together, air can pass through this hole inside the whole air shaft. So in ZEB, the whole air shaft is acting like, here is the air shaft, okay? The whole, it has a hole, it is not a massive, obviously it's not a massive, it has a hole inside. So in ZEB, the whole air shaft is acting like a negative air jumper. Well, in my Rockshox guys, in my ZEB guys, this hole wasn't aligned with the hole on the air shaft. When I aligned this hole, my fork all of a sudden gained probably a double volume of the air shaft. Why I'm telling double? Because in reality, if let's say this was the stanchion, okay, if it was the stanchion, it's not the stanchion, it's from the ZEB, it's wider, that's why you can fit it here, because this is from Yari 35 stanchions, this is for 38 stanchions. So if you imagine that you have the stanchion here, okay, closing this area, and if you realize that this piece of rubber and this piece of plastic are taking place inside this chamber, the active negative chamber you have is the chamber around this plastic. But if you see how big this hole, how big this hole is, and if you realize that through this hole everything acts like a negative chamber, all of a sudden, with this simple trick, the guys in Rockshox managed to double the size of the chamber without affecting how the chamber looks, just using this hole. But in my ZEB, my chamber wasn't aligned with the hole, so my ZEB wasn't using this extra chamber. Now I managed to align this hole with a hole on the shaft. I did it myself. I managed to align it myself. It was actually very easy. You have to simply rotate the shaft according to the seal head, and you will see the holes. And when you see them, you are good to go. But just to make sure you are tight enough, okay, to not get loose after it will be working for a while in your fork. So if you guys make sure your forks has your ZEBs, air shafts has this hole aligned with the shaft, and if you also make sure what I said in the previous video, that you can assemble the fork without building pressures inside the lowers, I can reassure you, you will be 100% surprised with the performance of your Rockshox ZEB. It is indeed an exceptional fork. And just to share a few numbers with you, I used to ride with 24 psi in the front tire. 25 was probably the best I could do in the front tire. When the bike came with a fork, which inside the fork I was using about 54, 58 maximum psi, and now I'm using, after these modifications, on the exactly same tire, 29 psi in the front, and just for the record, it is an Asagai DH compound, max grip compound DH casing, Maxis Asagai, and I use 29 psi in the front, and in the fork I am about 20 to 22 psi, maybe 24 at some point. So I hope I helped you. I'm looking forward to hear your comments, just in case you own a ZEB or you decide to buy a ZEB, and what was your ZEB in the holes were in your case aligned? Was your ZEB correctly assembled? Okay, just take your time and please write in my comments about your ZEB and your experience regarding how it feels now. If you liked my video, please subscribe, enjoy your riding, and take care, guys. See you.